This episode of the Best Damn League Show is brought to you by the Trolley Sour Bright Crawlers. They are a perfect snack whenever you're gaming, watching shows, you're watching LEC. Absolute perfect snack. They have the sour beginning and then they have the sweet taste afterwards. My favorite is the cherry lemon flavor. I mean, they've got 3 in the bag. Also, I was jealous because they sent me all of these, but Monty actually got the berry flavor, which I want. So I'm going to get that one next. But thank you to Trolley for sponsoring this episode of the Best Damn League Show. Get your tongue twisting, mind warping sour thrills at trolley.com.
Okay. I can say it's on brand for LEC. When I watch LEC, it's definitely mind warping. I'll give you that. And there's a lot of trolley play, if I have to be honest, It's just what I've seen.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Not bad. Not bad. Right. Obviously, it's a bit strange Dom introducing the show there, but it's all good. We like give and take. Obviously, he took it to heart when I told him how fucking amazing technically he is. Now he's professional. I saw that clip, mate, because it was on your clip channel. Here's the problem with that, because everyone's obviously now trying to laugh at me like, ha, the boomer just took it for real. I don't mean he consciously does it, you morons. The point is he's done so many reps. He understands the beats of the show. You don't even know what beats means. Well, I just said that. You're thinking I'm like, Dr. Dre, yeah, this is a sick headset. Like, I'm on about like in the show, there's certain like timings and when you have to hit stuff, and essentially he's good at doing that, isn't he? I know he pretends he isn't, but like, spoiler, he's even able to make people like fucking Gilius palatable on stream, so I know he's a genius. Like, whatever. That's the way, I actually sort of like Gilius now, but you have to understand, when you become my whipping boy, the shots always go your way. Like, the strays come your way. So Gilius. I'll give you credit. I've just mentioned you on an LEC show, and let's be real, you'll never be in LEC again, so...
Damn.
That's actually
Damn.
I'll take that.
Have you seen the quality of the junglers in this league? We got Peach in the fucking league, all right? So Gilius can definitely get a spot. But also, it's 100% better if I play it off like I'm just some schizo that doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. Half of being a streamer is just dumbing down yourself as much as possible to just be like the laughing stock of the entire stream. So everyone can just look at you and be like, what a fucking idiot. Like, what the fuck? Like, what is he saying? Like, you wanna obviously be entertaining, but you gotta make yourself self-deprecating, or you have to self-deprecate yourself, I should say.
Yes. Well, to be fair, in that scenario, Gilius just ready to be an amazing streamer. Oh, it's too many shots going his way today. It's too much. He feels like he's playing against Rekkles Jin back in the day now. Anyway, because obviously, spoiler, he'd only be killing the support of the jungler anyway. We're just KDA player. But more about that later. You'll just see one day someone will link that and go, this is what you referred to, but you don't need to know now. You don't need to know now. Right. Obviously, because there's even an LEC, so let's just get into the topic. Although I will say, I'll just throw this out there, because speaking of like spicy angles where people think we're trolling, I mentioned it last episode. That is what I heard. It was presented to the public that after that split, Rekkles was like, right, I think I'm just going to switch to support. And then they were like, will he stay in this team? Will he not? Like, I've heard he just was benched, and then he was like, right, may as well just switch to fucking literally as he does in Sogi, like Janna main. Like, I'm just a Janna main now. Like, that was like his way to like make it seem like he chose not to be involved. I think he just benched, mate. I mean, just benched him.
It's way too like coincidental that he decided to role swap at the same time where Fnatic got like a massive AD carry update, upgrade. Also, when he was playing the worst League of Legends of his entire life, like, I don't know. There's too many things that just happened at the same time for this to just be pure coincidence.
Yes, indeed. Right. Okay. So what about this? Obviously, last week we did review all the previous weeks. I'm not going to talk that much specifically about like the last week of LEC and the Vitality. We already did all that stuff. Spoiler, Vitality and Astralis. Like, Astralis, you're done. See you in 2023. And apparently they might also be trying to sell the slot again, is the rumor. Yeah. And then for Vitality, well, we'll just see how the groups play out. Like, if the groups play out right, we'll see you in the championship thing, in which case, I don't know, your punishment must be more severe, or whatever the fuck Bane said. Like what's going on with that? Like, not until you're eliminated from the championship finals, then you have my permission to die upset. Like, fucking hell, give you bloody hell. Can it stop pleasing? The beatings will continue until morale improves. Like, please. Like, I can't handle it, mate. So anyway, we're going to put that aside, because by the way, I know Dom. That's the nightmare for me and you. The problem is, because we bigged up both Upset and Perks, but separately. Now they're on one team. We've just collected all the haters. It's like we're like at the end of Lord of the Rings. We're just looking out like the entire armies of Mordor, like, holy shit. And then just like, remember, they don't just say, You dick
And
ride
Bo.
the player. Oh,
Bo
and
on the
Bo's
same-
all shining thought that. Yeah, and Bo, right? So they don't just say you dick ride him. They always go like, apologize. When will you admit they are trash? Like, I don't have to. I'm not actually in a cop station right now, guys. You aren't like shining the light in my face. Like, please, can I have a drink? Like, not yet. Not till you answer our questions. Like, admit Upset is trash at League of Legends. And as I've said before, dude, it was actually revealed. Did you see the clip of Perks on his stream since the last episode where he actually reveals, even till the end of this split, Dom, they were like the best scrim team. They were beating even Fnatic and G2 the majority of the time. Even at the end, I'm not talking before. Apparently, they were still just smurfing in scrims. So there's no way the players are bad. It's obviously the team is bad, and obviously they can't play officials.
Yep, that's exactly the angle I take. People are like, apologize and tell me that Upset is bad, and I just like I just say Vitality is bad. That's really what fucking triggers people. That is the comment that makes people just want to absolutely wring your throat. But you know what? I mean, I stand by the fact that I think the players are mechanically talented. I think that they're good players. And yeah, I mean, it is confusing that the team ended up playing so poorly together, because even when you look at like the match of personalities, Perk should ideally be the perfect player to play with somebody like Upset. Like Upset needs the guy that's more of like the leader, the locker room guy, and he can just focus on his role and be like proficient. But for some reason, it just went absolutely fucking terribly. And yeah, I think that the disparity between their scrim performance and stage performance, it definitely was wearing on the teams. Because I talked to other people that played against them, and they're like, yeah, they beat our ass all the time. These are teams in group stage that thought Vitality was just one of the best teams in LEC. They couldn't believe that they were actually playing this bad on stage. So it's really like a just failure for the ages. And I mean, it's something that you would think a Perks team would never go through. Normally, Perks teams are like mentally strong. That is one of like the best qualities of having him on the roster, because he's somebody who lightens the mood. He's like, yeah, whatever. Like, we're shit now. We'll get him next week. He has so much confidence. It kind of rubs off on the team. But this time it did not work.
And also, I'll just throw this out there. I even heard, even after they finished 10th, that Selfmade on his stream said that he actually still thinks Upset, like, maybe Noah's the best, but Selfmade's like, said Upset would be the best ADC after him still, and they doesn't care he's 10th. And that says a lot, guys, because Selfmade's a piece of shit.
So, okay, Jesus.
Just putting that out there. Yeah, don't worry. I'll figure out an angle to get more on that in the future. But I don't like to, here's the thing. I do like to talk shit, but I like to actually have information before I do that. So it's all good. That's why Monty nailed this years ago, Dom. He even said, why would you ever antagonize people like Richard Lewis and Thorin when they're investigative journalists and they could just investigate you? It's like, it's right. Because I'll tell you what, mate. One thing that'll motivate the hell out of you to really go and like track down stories, old teammates, is if some idiot's just talking shit publicly about you, like just going off on them. It's like, you know what? I always give this analogy. People know the movie Hate. It's like, I'll make time for Wayne Grow. It's like, you know what, mate? I was going to the airport, but fuck it, I've got half an hour. I'll make time to go and fucking hunt you down, put on my cap, get the fucking pocket square, the pen and the paper, the raincoat, go on the street. It was a cold, dark night in the LEC, but I had to know what that piece of shit Selfmade was going to do next. So I hit his old haunts, Vitality. And then I go, it's like, hey, babe, what you doing here? Tell me about that Polish jungler. Well, he's out at the moment delivering pizzas. Yeah, not now, obviously, homie. I mean, when he used to play professional League of Legends, like, whatever, anyway. I'm spoiler. I don't give a fuck. That's fire there. And also, I have heard this bomb is absolutely just like, I am from Poland, so I am Bing chilling on this giant contract. I get paid to not play League of Legends. It's like, in some ways, Selfmade, you were always paid to not play League of Legends. But enough about Vitality back in the day. I could do this all day. That's another thing. Why would you ever antagonize me? I'm straight fire at roasting. I just start heating. And then they're just like, let him cook. So enough about that. But then again, the only time you're let him cook is when they prepare the fucking pizzas. And then you're like, Uber Eats delivery here. Is the double pepperoni available? And they're like, I think you've had enough German sausage, homie.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, though, he is delivering those pizzas from Midlife Crisis, your restaurant. So
there you go. He got me.
That was where he got you. So
that really showed me, because I know you must hate this. I love banter, by the way. If someone actually does a clever banter back to me, I'll even credit him. Like, that's fucking funny, actually. Dude, that was so shit banter, because he had to accept my premise that he's a bomb-ass delivery boy for pizza to say that it's from my restaurant, Midlife. And by the way, in that analogy, that's just
you own him.
I own the restaurant, you idiot. Like, I'm a successful business owner. You're just delivering my pizzas. Like, That just shows how pros.
Fuck.
Y'all have just been living in this bubble for too long where everyone tells you you're the king. Because if you think you won that exchange, like, that's an L. You just stepped on a rake, it went in your face. You're like, you've got a rake in your face. I didn't know, did I? I didn't know, bro. So anyway, let's get into this episode. So obviously I promised last week what we'll do differently. Because this also, if you don't know why we do so many 2-man episodes, it's also because sometimes it's fun to have the coach to get like inside info on the other team from scrims or what they're doing. But it does to some degree block you just actually having the real convo of like, right, like they put in all the disclaimers and they never, even if privately think someone's shit, they're never going to flame them. They're like, we're having challenges in that team. And I think, that maybe he'll need to improve on this, which just means he's shit and can't do this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to break down some of these matchups because I actually think there's some pretty interesting ones in here. Like the first one, and by the way, this is going to be the esports bet match of the week. So if you actually use our code, you can basically get, I think, like 10% extra on the bet, which is going to be Team Heretics against BDS. So you've got the Heretics squad with some pretty good players in, some players more questionable. You've got BDS, who used to be really good. Maybe they're going to be all right now. Maybe they can get it together. I think it's a really close matchup personally. Obviously, go to esports bet, check it out. If you don't know, they also have their classic first-time deposit bonus, 50% up to 100 USDT. What do you think, Tom? Because to me, I see why Monty picked this one. This could actually be a bag. I can see this is a coin flip to me. I can see this going either way.
Yeah, for me, I think that this is one of those matches. There's 2 matches. We'll get to the other one later. That just proved to me how little I care as like a person about the season portion of the tournament. Like, as long as you're in, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't think Heretics is a good team. They have some angles that are interesting, but like we said during the last show, which is part of the reason why we bring guests, it's always hilarious to just bring like Team Heretics coach and me being like, yeah, I flame like your team for a living. Like I actually make the majority of my money just criticizing one of your players who you are partly responsible for their performance, like either by, picking them up, like scouting, or from just coaching them and giving them the information and them not being able to perform it. It's always good to have that. But yeah, I mean, I just don't think that Heretics is a good team. When I was watching them, sure, they got some wins. I don't think they're a better team than BDS. Like, I think BDS is a higher level, especially when you buckle down for a best of 3 and you hone in your champion pool. Because BDS started the split, like they started other splits, trying to, play the meta. And after a while, they realized it's like, you know what? We don't win when we play the meta. We need Nuke to just play his champions. He just rotates like Syndra, Cassio, Azir, all the mages mid. He'll play his champions. You ban out the static Shiv LeBlanc or whatever else you might be uncomfortable with, and you just play 2 tanks. You play like a bruiser champ for Adam, you play a tank jungler, and you just play front to back with 2 carries, and that's just the recipe for winning. And it's really easy to execute the strategy in Europe. Also, when you look at Heretics, I don't think that Heretics actually has the players that are going to be able to break BDS's front to back. Like, when you think about what BDS is best at and how Heretics wants to play the game, they don't want to flank. Like, who's going to flank? Evi's going to flank. Evi's going to TP flank. He can barely even frontline. He has no concept of where his teammates are at all times. How is he going to then try to approach from a different angle and time it with an engage? I just don't see it happening at all. So, I mean, yeah, I think Heretics is just going to lose. I think Heretics will just lose to BDS. I think BDS doesn't even need to be the best versions of themselves to win this.
Because, yeah, that's the thing for me, is I think a lot of people are getting too hyped off the Heretics, like placing and wins and some of the teams they beat. Like, some of those games were mad sauce. And like we talked about, Ebby did his best to fucking throw some of those games. They just couldn't. Like, they're just like, the joke is Vitality can't even pick up the throw. So, like, to me, I think Heretics got gassed off that first. Meanwhile, actually, like you're saying, with BDS, I don't mind, as long as they made this group, I don't mind that they looked a bit bad and it was looking a little bit underwhelming and like jungle support wasn't as good as before. Once you get to BO3s, I favour this team. I actually just think they're going to be the better squad. I don't really see, like, I can see a world where, like, maybe if Jankos and Vethio play fucking super lights out, you can win. But I don't think that's even the biggest problem. Like, actually, I'll say that as well, is if you look at, like, the top lane angle, normally that's where I'm going to meme on BDS because of the Adam factor. Like, that's not a problem for him. He's actually the better top laner in this matchup. Like, what issues do I have? Yeah, so right now I just look at the squad and it's like, mate, like, Flackhead better go fucking supernova. I'm not a big fan of Mercer anyway, but you better do something too, mate. Like, I think they're just outclassed. I actually think BDS is a better team.
There's a few more angles here. Now, one thing that we don't know is what patch LEC is actually being played on. And one thing that I can say here, because I have some behind the scenes info, is that they might actually do a global revert to 13.12. They might actually be playing on 13.12 and not 13.13. Which is important because that is the patch where there's the static Shiv nerf, where it goes from having like insane AP scaling just being like, I mean, people are still probably going to build it, but it's just not as good. And I feel
Yes.
like Heretics has the advantage in terms of static shift champions. They play LeBlanc, they play Kai'Sa mid, for example, and you know those are just champions that can abuse how OP static shift is. But even going to 13-12, I think is rough for Heretics because part of the reason that Mercer can get along so well is he could play the broken Yuumi, he can play the broken Milio, and those are good angles for that team. When they have to play engaged supports, I don't think they're going to be able to be a better bot lane 2v2 than Crowny and Labrov. And obviously, the champions I just mentioned, those champions are better at just drawing out the lane phase, just kind of sustaining it out, relaxing, and then you just show up to team fights and you try to go crazy. So I think there's definitely ways that BDS can limit Heretics easily in draft, banning things like, for example, Draven, which is probably Flocket's best champion when it comes to like those all-in lanes, and just trying to make Heretics play an honest game, just standard 2v2s, 1v1 top laner, top lane matchup. Like I think it's gonna really come down to Jankos completely smurfing, and then Video needs to show up for playoffs. I always felt like Video's performance was a little bit worse in playoffs than it was in regular season, even in those Misfits teams. So yeah, I have to see if he's able to perform, and I think that BDS has a very they have a very good like internal team narrative going into this. It's very easy for them to be like, yeah, we're just the better team. Like Heretics, like they should feel like they're the favorites, even though they're technically the underdogs.
No, I'm with you. Like, by the way, I also agree. If you ever go and watch Vithio when he was like MVP or MVP candidate, it's not that he played bad. He would just play like way more hesitant. He didn't go as ham as he fucking would. Like, that's another factor I think people misunderstand about best of ones. In the modern day, because remember, back in the day, like the game was a lot more straightforward. And quite frankly, the gap was enormous between like Expecate and then say like the 7th best mid lane. Like, the gap could be enormous. So they really could just style even in BO1s. In the modern day, I actually think in BO1s, sometimes the pressure is on the favorite because it's just one game, and if you fuck up some things early or it starts to go against you, you sometimes play a little bit more hesitant. You play a bit more safe. In a best of 3, this is one of the reasons why I love the LPL and the LCK. In a best of 3, if you really are the better team, you just sort of, especially the first game, you play it on a way more even keel because you know it doesn't even matter if you lose it. You can still win the series. You can still learn from it. You can still figure out their drafts from it. Like, there's not the same pressure. So I actually think it's only once you get to the best of 5s in the playoff that like the pressure maybe comes on big names again. Oh, now we lose and we're out. Like, the other thing here is it's a group, like GSL group. You can even lose the first BO3. G2 did it last split and still come back, go to playoffs. Mad Lions did it. In fact, both the teams who were going deeper did it. So I also think like the format is just way more forgiving for the big names now. Like, Heretics looked to me like a team that got through with a bunch of clever like drafts, some weird picks here and there, couple of nice like fluky team fight wins. Those TP players were really interesting when people didn't know how they worked. That stuff, that's not going to work in a BO3. And people, they're prepared for you now. Remember, it's not like that Super Week where there's 3 games, and if I'm playing G2, Fnatic, and Heretics, spoiler, I'm putting most of my emphasis on G2 and Fnatic, not Heretics there. Like, now, BDS has just been zoned in on you the whole time. And I'll tell you what, like they actually played really well last split and looked like when they got to best of 3s and best of 5s, like they were well coached, they were well prepared. So I give them the credit in that regard. Like I love Peter Dunn, but I do think he's essentially trying to do some sort of fucking magic trick where he like look over here, whoa, and watch, oh, and a penny out of your, like that only works in a fucking BO1. Like the misdirection can't work for a full BO3 for me. If it can, God bless, but I don't think it can. I'm taking BDS.
And I think that people just consider like a lot of the games that Heretics plays as like they'll look at the score and think that they're a better team than they are. I mean, the only difference between them being 5-4 and them being 4-5 is straight up that Vitality game that was thrown bot lane. Like if that game doesn't happen, they're 4-5 with the rest of them, and it completely changes the narrative of how much better they are now. Yep. They're just in the shit with BDS, SK, Mad Lions, and Koi, all of them at the absolute bottom of the barrel. So, I mean, the team just was not that amazing. And when they played each other, when BDS and Heretics played each other, not only was that the game when they played each other, that was with Aggressivo. Remember, that was the game that they played in regular season. That was the game that Adam was actually subbed out. So I don't even count that matchup as being like a big win. Like Heretics actually got the one day where BDS played with a sub. Like that's so fucking lucky just in and of itself. But then they also played the Milio Yuumi matchup, which Mercer's always been fine on Yuumi. That's always been one of his best champions, which honestly says a lot about him as a player. But I'm just not big on Heretics going forward. I mean, I've been a Heretics hater the entire time. I just think there's so many flaws that it's like they need so many things to go right on the day in order to just win.
Dom's more of a Heretics hater than the Spanish Inquisition. Old school reference, if people know the history. Okay, let's do this then. So let's talk about this group stage game, G2 versus Koi. So in this one, let's not fucking beat around the bush. Like, I expect G2 to beat the ever-living snot out of fucking Koi. I don't think this is even like a vaguely fair matchup, right?
I think so, but for some reason it feels like Koi normally plays G2 kind of close. Like they're just an annoying team, I think, for G2 because G2 has that style where they want to, well, maybe not anymore. We'll see how they actually play these best of threes. But generally their style this year has been very like aggressive. We want to just get ahead of you type of style. And Koi is the team that just kind of wants to farm out lanes and just relax and, get to team fights. And I feel like they're just a frustrating team for G2 to play against. But we'll see. I mean, the game that they played against each other, I thought was a pretty interesting one. I mean, that was the one where Larson was getting absolutely like abused by Caps in the Nico versus Azir matchup. Azir is obviously not the same champion that it was. There was changes pretty much. If you don't know, essentially, the main changes were that Azir is a weaker laner. They took power out of his Q, so he's not as abusive when he just Q pokes you in lane, and now like the power's in your W. So you scale better, essentially. But I don't know if it's going to be as big of a stomp. I think G2 like will win, but it might be like 2-1. It might be an ugly series.
By the way, one angle, I'm with you that, like, for example, I actually do think Larson's a better player than Caps right now, maybe even for the last split as well. Like, I think it's actually, you're actually seeing on a bad team just how good the floor of his game is. Like, he even seems to be able to play when his teammates play. Like, I think his jungler's just, it's just an empty chair. It's just fucking washed. Like, he has no impact on the game. Top lane doesn't know how to play with the team, and then bot lane's just fucking crippled, isn't it? Like, they just can't ever get to, like, full strength that they used to back then. They don't have Trimby anymore. The ADVN thing's just, that's the most whatever / mild downgrade I've ever seen. Like, there's just nothing to this team. And as you're saying as well, like, if you're someone who's like in a Azir / a Mage King, that's not the position where you're going to 1v9 from mid lane, mate. Like, I need you to be a LeBlanc player. I need you to be some Silas God who's just going to pick that every time in any matchup. Like, the joke is in this team, you'd rather have Leader if you want to just win a BO1, but Larson is just the better player. So I think it's just harder in a BO3, though. I could see it being 2-1. I know what you mean in that sense. They do match up well, probably coached pretty decently, but I think they are going to lose. I'll give you a little gem, though. I alluded to something earlier, so I'll drop. Here's the thing. I'll give you one. You've already had your bag of sweeties at the beginning of the show, but I'll give you one last little treat, one last little sugar lump, and I'll just put it there. And all you do is, we can't talk about it too much. You just put it on your tongue. Let all the flavour come in. Just savour it. Really savour it. Because don't worry, I'll be back in the future with some more fucking banger drops. So here's the little detail I heard. You know, I said earlier, I didn't say it all. You know, I said earlier that when Rekkles did the role swap and he came to be like a support player, what if I told you, Dom, that Koi wanted him as the support, not ADVN, and that it was Rekkles who didn't want to go because he didn't want to look bad in Koi?
I mean, that's pretty tough. That's pretty tough.
That's hard as fuck. I'm coming from the streets, homie. This is how we do. Because you have to understand one thing about Rekkles, and you'll get to know this, is his number one priority is do not look bad in public. He understands very carefully his image job. It's why he does those streams where he's always saying the opposite to what people's teammates are. He really cares about cultivating his image. So I've heard, like, the reason why he spams like a bazillion games is like he's not just going to go and like role swap a first time a champion or something. Like, he needs to feel like it's all nailed down so he doesn't look like the guy who lost the game. You know, that's big to him apparently.
Yeah, I mean, that really now explains why ADVN played that Janna game. He was just trying to be Rekkles. If we see ADVN come and like his arms are blacked out next game, we just know. We're like, oh shit, he's going full Rekkles. So
yes,
yeah, it all makes sense. It's all coming together. I like that tidbit. And
I'll just throw this out there. I'm just want to say, right? See, you following at home, kids, Sesame Street now. Count the bad calls of the Koi management. So we've got number one, IWDominate. Who the fuck needs him? We've got the Shy Kender. Service says no. Then they were like, you know what? You know that Trimby guy? He's fucking shit. What's that? He's transferred over and it looks like he went through a time machine and now he's really good again. Oh, bloody hell. There's two. Then we come to the third strike. Paces are loaded. You got to hit this one, otherwise the game's over. What's that? We've gotten rid of Trimby. Well, at least let's get a really good support in return. What about that washed player called Rekkles, who's a massive diva and just role swapped to support? I must have him. Oh, like, bro, mate. Yeah. The joke here is, like, if Fly from fucking Koi management was in the movie Sophie's Choice, he'd fuck up and just go, I don't know, kill both of them. Like, oh, have I done? Oh, they're both dead now. Oh, I even had a choice to let one live. What have I done? Oh, I thought it through. Have I fucked it up? Like my joke on the last week, Dom, I'll say it again. If Fly from Koi Management is playing blackjack and he gets fucking a 9 and an ace, he just goes, hit. Let me see. I want to be the first guy ever to get 22 and win, baby. It's like the game doesn't work that way. Yeah, for you it doesn't. I'm out thinking outside the box. You know, I'm not like you, group meta thinking. I made a sterner stuff. Now, Advien and the Shy Gender. Are we going to win the split again? What was your plan? Meanwhile,
I think
well, to be fair, I actually know why Shigenda never gets any flame. Because whenever people try to like take shots at him, he just like wiggles and dances between the shots, and then like whatever. It's a joke about that Kennen thing. Wait, like, he's only famous for two things: a shit weird move on the edge of two things, and then going.
Yeah.
You got to do more.
I thought that was good. Why did he think that doing that face would be good with the double middle finger? The camera goes on him, he goes. Like, what the fuck is that?
He thought he was on some like Conor McGregor shit or something, didn't he? But the problem is that Conor McGregor at the time was really sick and was knocking everyone out. Like, you can't just do that if you're trash. Like,
yeah.
You just look like a homeless man. What are you doing?
It was something else. That guy, he was completely trolling. Speaking of trolling, this is where we get the transition. The Best Damn League Show is sponsored by Trolley Gummy Worms, where you can get a ton of different flavors. They have strawberry, grape, cherry, lemon, and orange lime in this pack right here. In the Very Berry pack, which is the one that Monty has, you have raspberry, blueberry, strawberry, blackberry, blue raspberry, and berry punch. I had a bunch of nostalgia when I got these because I used to have them from a vending machine when I was a kid after baseball practice. So I had them, and they brought me right back. Still amazing. We got a story from Yamato even. I brought it up on my stream. We got a story about Yamato where he would eat them and he would fall asleep and he'd have like the sour flavoring just like in his chest hair as he woke up.
Okay.
So we got that as well. But yeah, you can get the rest of your tongue-twisting, mind-warping sour thrills at trolley.com.
That's how you know also that not only is this is how you know the Venn diagram of who Dom is. He's American and he's also got that Hispanic background. So in the overlap, play baseball as a kid. You must play baseball and try to be really good. Like that is
from Miami,
isn't it? Yeah, that's the spot right there. Exactly. Also, speaking 100%. Of which, they are delicious if no one knows. I've had trolley myself when I'm in America. They are straight fire. But I will say this. They are very sweet. They have the sourness. That's the right one. If you just want sour grapes, Rekkles fans have kind of got the market cornered on that one. You know, just do
sour sweet grapes. Maybe Trolley could have something there.
There you go. Exactly. Yes. Right. What about the other thing I want to talk about with G2 was I actually, in a way, respect that the way G2 plays in the officials, where they do seem to have that like Korean approach, where it's like, because they did this last split as well, they do it now. If they get a style that works and a draft that works, they just keep doing it until you can stop them. Like if you can't prove that you can beat it and you can make them stop doing it, they'll just keep doing it. And quite frankly, no one else is doing that, like fucking Brown, Starlin, but like no one else can make that work at the moment. No one else has ever made the Draven comps work as well as them. I sort of appreciate it. Like you don't have to, you're not trying to win a series in every possible way. It's not like hockey where you're trying to score in every possible way. You can't short-handed in a penalty. Like if you can just win the game, make them show you've got a deeper bag.
Yeah, definitely. I think that they are similar to JDG in that respect, where they know they're just ahead of the region. So what JDG is doing right now is they're trying to bring out different junglers. They're trying to be on top of the meta. They're trying Rel jungle, Ivern jungle. They tried Lilia today. They're using the regular season games because they've essentially already locked their berth into the next round. Like they locked it super early because they were just beating everyone. They're using it to practice. So they obviously have the aggression down. They know how to like play with winning lanes and invade the jungle. And get ahead in that respect. And it felt like this split, they tried to add another dynamic to their game, which was playing a little bit slower. The Braum Kog'Maw, not having Mickey X play a super engaged champion where he can just run in, start the fight, and just like win you the whole fight, and everyone just needs to follow up. They're trying to add an extra dimension to their game, which I appreciate. So, yeah, I mean, even if they lost some of these games, they're a team that you just don't have to worry about. Like, they still, to me, are just the best team in Europe. You see when they have a game that really matters, for example, the Fnatic game where there's some rumblings like, oh, is Fnatic actually the best team in Europe? They put that team in their fucking place. They let them know it's like, no, we're the top dogs by far. So, yeah, I mean, I still think G2 is just the best team in Europe. And I wouldn't take too much away from their, like, attempted differentiation of their styles, I guess.
If we're taking G2 and BDS, I'm assuming as the teams that get out, who was the team that challenged? Like, is Koi going to challenge with, say, BDS? Like, can Koi be the second team out after G2?
I think it's really hard. I think it really just depends on the type of form that BDS is in, because they obviously had a really bad regular split. I mean, there's stories that the team was pretty high about. They're pretty high from winning spring split. Not literally. At least I hope. I know when they were playing, it might have looked a little sus. Maybe they hit the freeze pipe too many times, but they actually were a little bit like just riding that spring split, like thought they were better than they were. And I think that this group stage, or this season part of the bracket, was a reality check for them. So we'll see if they actually are able to take the last couple weeks that they've had off, improve, and what form they come into when it gets to the group stage. So I'm not sure who's better between them and Koi, but I think if BDS has improved, then they'll just beat Koi. I don't think Koi is going to have like much upside.
That's the other angle I hadn't realized about how bad the naming is. Well, obviously, by definition, a round robin of like BO1s is a group. So it's even worse that they called that. Like you didn't fuck up this. Just obviously they called this group. So like you absolutely fucked us on that one. Like why are you still doing that? Change that for next year, for fuck's sake. Like I say, I think you just call it BO1, BO3s, BO5s. It solves the whole problem, doesn't it? Like
please, exactly. I don't want to have to call it the summer season. Like season normally refers to the entirety of the year. Like that's normally what a season is. But there's one thing I wanted to mention when you're making the Koi point about like weird decisions. And the other one I would say is like in the Inspire decision and the Hans decision. Like people are gonna say because they didn't win with that team was like automatically capped out and there needed to be a change. But I actually think the league was more open in 2022. When you look at what ended up happening, where the supposed super teams didn't look as good, and then Mad Lions got weaker because Humanoid went to a different team, and Mad kind of like had the exodus or whatever. I think that it's not guaranteed that Koi would not have been able to win with Inspired and Hansama, and those are still like some of the best talents in Europe. So they've definitely, I think that the thing about Koi is that they're a very like vibe centric team. If there's someone who's like ruining the team environment, they just instantly kick them. They don't like try to mend it or allow winning to cure that type of team environment. It's like, oh, there's a problem. Well, we don't want to lose the team, so we're gonna kick this guy. Oh, there's another problem with this guy. Well, we don't want to lose the team environment, so we're gonna kick this guy. It seems like that's how they make a lot of their decisions.
I mean, that just makes me think Malran must be like my old joke. He must just make the best cup of tea of all time. I bet the second you finish for your scrim, you just look down and suddenly he's just fucking give you the foot massage. Oh, you okay, Mr. Larson? How are you feeling today? Little hot toddy to finish the night off. Then he's going over with comp. Oh, yeah, you're hitting the spot right there, Malran. Oh, I'll tell you what, unlike you jungler, you're completely on point right now, making me feel really relaxed and not at all stressed. And then it's just like, he even obviously the joke is, then he says to like Shigenda, like, you know what, I saw you had some IKEA equipment delivered earlier, a desk and, like a table. Like, if you want, I could put those together. But then Shigenda comes in, like, he finished. He's like, yeah, I'm finished. You can go in and use it. And he goes in, Dom, and he's only half built. All the table, but just not the top part. And then you get the joke. You get the joke. You get the joke. The thing about the Malran flame is it's free as fuck, isn't it? Just like if you want to play on esports bet, you don't have to have crypto. You can get 600 DJT for free every day just by making an account and logging in. There you go. Anything about Malran? Flame about Malran?
No, I thought you were going to go the freeze pipe angle there. I thought you were going to be like, it looks like, it's really, he takes too many hits from the freeze pipe and then he forgets what item he's building and then starts building the next one. But okay.
Technically, that would be like a negatively framed advert, whereas I would never say that. I actually think if Malran
you wouldn't do the Lenovo?
A hit from the freeze pipe, instead, because it's cooled and it's not that hot irritating smoke that makes you feel a bit weird anyway, he'd actually have more of a chilled vibe. And also, it depends what cannabis you're using here, Dom, because I would suggest maybe he does something like a mild sativa, give him a bit of creative thinking, make him start thinking like outside the box, but in a good way. Like, if I complete the item though, the whole effect of the game as opposed to just the short term. And wait a minute, I'm actually playing League of Legends, not StarCraft. Yeah, that was brilliant in Korean StarCraft 15 years ago where you'd switch the build path. But in League of Legends, there's a reason why all those op.gg sites exist. Because there's about 2.5 builds for every champion, and they're just the best ones that mathematically win over millions of games played. So I'll just say, in that scenario, obviously, if he had have had a freeze pipe, he could have taken the food safe glycerin chamber, put it in the freezer section for just 1 hour, which would have given not only the freeze pipe chamber a chance to cool down, but him a chance to have more of a cool head. And then after that, it would have cooled his smoke by over 200 degrees, at which point in time, you know what? Maybe then it's like, oh, hey guys, you know what? I'm feeling like this is going to be a different type of script. All right. You know the thing about LEC ADCs?
Kevin Hart?
The older I get, they stay the same age. Level 4. That's what I got. Level 4 only. Level 4. Never in the first 3 levels, level 40. So, okay, if you enjoyed that skit / cannabis and you want to support us, the Venn diagram's just a circle there, just a complete. So it looks like an eclipse, full of clips or whatever. No, so basically, you can use the code LFN for 10% off at thefreezepipe.com. Thank you to the Freeze Pipe. Although obviously, in Malrock's case, he won't be saying thank you to the Freeze Pipe because he's never enjoyed that. He's the kind of guy where actually playing with him must be like smoking without the freeze pipe. It's just really irritating, hot. You feel bothered. Like, yeah, every now and then you get a bit of a hit, but it's like, bloody hell, fucking open a window or someone. This fucking stinks.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this, like when you were talking about Malrong, I realized something. So I've been playing a lot of TFT lately, and I think Malrong would be the worst TFT player of all time. Like, imagine if you couldn't move your champions and all you could do is build items. Like, it would be so horrible. Like, right now, there's a meta right now in TFT where everyone is using the same website, which is like a tactics.tools. And what it essentially does is it tells you like the win rates of like all different like items and augments at different points within the game. So a lot of people just play based off that. They're like, oh, this is like higher win rate, I'm just going to go that. He's like the guy that would look at that site. He would scroll all the way to the bottom at the lowest placings and just build all those items and still try to win somehow. Like, that is who Malrong is.
Yes, absolutely. Right, let's do it then. So, did you actually answer the question? Are you taking Koi or BDS as the second team to come out? Who are you actually going?
I mean, my answer, like, I guess we'll save that for next week, right? Wait, do they play? No, they would play next week, right? They would play next week.
Oh yeah, you're right. They would actually. Yeah, you're true. Actually, yeah, we can. Yeah, I'm thinking we'd do the whole group. Yeah, fuck it. Right, let's go to the other group then. Right, let's start off with the Fnatic SK one. Because even though I'll just say it, thankfully this is gone now. You know, even when like SK wasn't even good back in the day, they'd still be like, it's El Clasico, and they just kept spamming that like, yeah. And it's like, bro, they've been dead for about 2 years, like a bottom feeder. But okay, it is
like
the Fnatic
more like 10, but yeah.
versus SK one here, you know. Like, spoiler, ever since basically like Forgiven left that team, they've just been irrelevant. They're just a fucking joke. So in this matchup here, my problem is this, Dom. Maybe that patch thing might play a role, but not only do I think Fnatic is really good, like they look better and better and better every week, and I'm just a true believer, like the Noah guy, he's probably the MVP of the fucking split so far, if we're being honest. Like, he looks really good. But the thing is, I know everyone wants to believe in SK, and in the last week they gave you a little bit of hope. Like, I just don't believe, even though I'm not a big humanoid fan, I don't believe Certus is going to have big pop-offs like every fucking game. I think that's become so rare now. And even if you look at the champions he's playing, like,
that's the main thing.
The last thing he wants is some of the champions right now, right? He wants to talk shit like Akali and stuff.
Yeah, he wants Akali and Sylas, and I think it's so easy for you to just not give Sylas and Akali angles. Like, number one, you could prioritize red side and not let him counterpick. That's an easy thing to do, because if he wants to have first pick Azir, just let him have it. You know, like, let him have it. And if you are on blue side, you could just first pick the LeBlanc. They would have to ban that. I think it's so easy for you to just tailor the draft in a way where Certus is not able to play the game. Take away the Sejuani, for example, that limits the Sylas immediately. You just take away specific champions and the team becomes so much worse. And it seems like SK, they completely went away from the meta and was like, yeah, we're not going to even make it to the next stage if we don't get these wins right now. So they band-aided as hard as possible. And you know, one of the advantages of having Gilius on the stream all the time is he played for SK, right? He played with Certus all of last year. And the one thing he always tells me about Certus is that he's actually really good at flanking. And when you watch more of the games through that lens, you'll start seeing, you're like, that is actually something that's unique about him, that's different than most LEC mid laners. The problem is there's not that many good champions to flank on right now mid lane. Like, Annie, you don't really want to be on like a complete flank. And also the way that you flank with something like Sylas and Akali is different, where you just kind of like, it doesn't matter. It's like you go in at a timing and you just stall out the fight. You sit in your shroud, you pop your Zanyas, and you just stall out the fight and then let things settle, and you just absorb so much like attention that that hopefully your team is able to win in that time frame while you're able to stall out the fight. So I just think that SK is so exploitable right now, and I don't think that they can play the meta at all. If you end up watching these games and you see and Azir come out from Certus, you know the game's over already. Like you're just like, yeah, this game is going to be all Fnatic. I just don't think that Fnatic will lose any games that aren't just completely mid-gapped because of who they have bot lane, right? Like Noah is just essentially the best AD carry in the league. He's been super consistent. I think he'll just be significantly better than Exakik, who's obviously just went on a downwards trajectory since winter. And on the other side of the map, like Oscarin has became super stable. Like he's become actually quietly one of the best top laners in the league, which is really unexpected. Like when you look at him compared to the other top laners, like I mean, he's probably top 3 now. Like he's always consistent. He's always performing. Like he has a huge champion pool. He plays well in team fights. Like, yeah, this guy is completely different than he was in those first games of spring.
I'm definitely with you as well, because the problem with SK, this is where people are stuck on a narrative from now ages ago, now like a split ago, guys, is their whole strength was the bot lane. And spoiler, they're not going to have that strength in this match. Like Fnatic bot lane looks way better. Fnatic bot lane is killing the game right now. Like, as we said, like Trimby's back. Noah actually, like that's it. I would vote for him for MVP right now. If I had to put my vote in today, he is the 100%. MVP of the, and he's a fucking rookie to the LEC. He doesn't play like it, mate. He looks absolutely cracked out.
Too bad those awards don't exist anymore. That's you don't have no MVP for any split. Yeah. So Noah has no chance of winning the actual MVP because it's over the course of the entire year. So,
well, the joke is they knew that Rekkles was on the way out, so they were like, let's stop giving out MVPs. You know, the king can't get it anymore. If it's not good enough, if it's not fit for a king, then what would a mere peasant like Noah do with an MVP award, eh?
the king in the north.
Yeah. They had to make it so that in history, the only Fnatic ADCs to ever win MVP would be Rekkles. Like, you have to understand, at this point, LEC has to protect his legacy, because obviously he can't do it himself. I mean, you saw what he did. Well, the joke is, here's the problem, Dom. Are you ready for the best joke of all time? That's framed as the shittest joke of all time. Because even Rekkles knew that was the end of his career as ADC. Even he tried to press F in the chat. That's pretty good.
Yeah, the fail flash. I know. I see the reference. I like
there
that.
You go.
I like
there you go.
That.
Of course, there you go. It's all good. I'll just let that one marinate. It's all good, guys.
All right. Okay.
Right. The other thing as well about this matchup is, obviously, the other strength of SK was Marcoon. And first of all, I've just seen his whole career, guys. Marcoon's another player that never quite does as well in the playoffs as he does in the regular split. So the more pressure there is, he's not as good. And then I think actually, because of the fucking humanoid nonsense for these 2 years, dude, people actually low-key just underrate Razork like religiously now. The guy is clearly a very mechanically strong jungler. Like, he could definitely fucking get busy. Like, I'm not taking like Marcoon some clear step above him or some shit like that.
No, definitely not. I mean, I think Razork has been pretty good. The problem with Razork has always been him just randomly inting the game at some point after he gets the lead. But when your team is so far ahead and like everyone's actually mechanically proficient, it doesn't feel like that ruins the game the same way it used to ruin some of the games. So it's tough. Also, I think Marcoon is limited by the fact that he's pretty much on Sejuani duty whenever it's up, so that Certus can be relevant in the games. If they try to play these like normal standard jungle matchups, I mean, you saw the game versus G2 where Yike was completely running it down and it just didn't matter. Like Certus got 1 million kills. He still couldn't carry the game on his ear. So it's just weird. It feels like they haven't found anything that really works for them ever since like Winter Split, where they had the identity of like, oh, we play like all the enchanters bot lane. We have like a hyper carry bot lane. We play through that. Irrelevance to the weak side top laner. It seems like now, because the bot lane is struggling so much, one of their best looks is when Irrelevant plays the Jax, when he actually plays something that has more carry potential, which was something that didn't really work for them in Winter. So it feels like their whole identity has been completely altered. And it seems like because they've been struggling for so long and they were looking like they weren't even going to make the stage, they just had to like completely do a 180 and just play completely different stuff.
It's also the problem that you get with these teams where they are supposed to be an underdog team. Their roster isn't at the beginning of the split supposed to actually be able to be top 4 and be like contender for the title. Is when you actually start winning, Dom, it's just going to be obvious eventually people will figure out what your formula is. And as soon as they attack the formula or the meta changes, you don't have a winning approach anymore. Like the beauty even of a team like Vitality is, in theory, if you'd ever got it together, it wouldn't really matter the meta. It's like which players are playing well. If you get it, like you have enough talent. Because if you look at this team, here's how you would cynically want the game to be, and spoil it's how they would win. You'd want Irrelevant to be playing like the weak side and play something like Sion or whatever. Then you'd want fucking the Akali or Silas mid, because as you say, say in the team fight, you're just going to make everyone try to go on you while you do the fucking Shroud or your Zhonya's. Meanwhile, Exakick then is just going to farm up with the ADC. You're just going to win the team fight like that. That doesn't exist right now for them. Like, that option is not available. It's not on the table. Like, they can't even play basically the style that got them all those wins before, and they're not ahead in bot lane now. So I don't know where they get it from. I don't even blame them. Like, I think some of the pieces they have, that it's just not a good meta. They've been figured out. They didn't make good on the Winter War, and so if they don't make it the championship, I think that's their own fault. I'm afraid they had their shot earlier.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the way the team is constructed, it feels like what you'd want with this type of team is you'd want like the Larson on this team. You'd want the carry mage player as opposed to the Silas Akali player, because it's very weird to have like a meta where, because normally when you have tanks top, you end up with control mages mid, but now it's like a tank top meta, but they don't want the control mages. They actually want like the Silas Akali. So then you end up with like Sejuani or an Akali, which isn't going to carry as hard, or it's not going to be like as dominant of a trio topside as, you know, playing something with pressure mid lane. So it's just very weird. And the other problem with this is if you're blind picking tanks and then you're also picking weak early game mid laners, you just have no prio in your whole top side of the map, and your jungler can be
even harder, right?
Invaded every single time. Like, it's just really hard to play the game.
Right, obviously, the one that's a tiny bit spicy is XL versus Mad, because XL got to look, keyword look, like, oh, they're on a bit of a heater. They've sort of got it together. Meanwhile, Mad, it's like they said on the show, like, they won the first 4 games. They know they're in groups anyway. They're on one of the top teams. Then they lost 5, but maybe they were experimenting. Maybe they fucked around a bit. Some players definitely did in some games. But you expect, I think this is where recency bias / BO1 form is misleading. Like, I don't hate on XL. They're aight. Some of the players are aight. I just don't see what ceiling they have. And I think Mad, they can only get better in my opinion. Mad surely is the better team here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very surprised if they're not like favorites when the lines. I mean, the lines might even be open now, but I'll be very surprised if they're not the favorites. I mean, they came into the last group stage as the 8 seed. They went 3-6, and they like had to play a tiebreak just to make it into the group stage, and they ended up winning the whole thing. So I don't think it's like very hard for the Mad players to psych themselves into like form where they're like, yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, we got here, let's do what we do. And when they play well, they're just a better team than XL. I think XL. They developed their own style, which was interesting, but at the end of the day, it's like not a very good style. It's like, oh, we can play tank junglers, and like we just play really, really, really fucking slow, which is what you imagined they would do when the team was brought together originally. That was the whole idea, was that you have, you know, this weak side top laner, you have a really consistent AD carry, you'll scale throughout the game, and then when you team fight, you'll use the fact that you have a really good tank player and a really good AD to just win the fights. It feels like they can do that more now. But that being said, like, I don't trust this Peach guy. I think that you see Maokai bans the entire series, and then if you start getting into games where Elyoya is on even footing, he's just going to end up completely dominating this guy. Also, tank junglers are something that Peach only plays, but Elyoya is one of the few junglers that actually still likes to play Trundle. Like, he hasn't played it that much, but he's somebody who will pull it out if it's a good opportunity for it. So I can definitely see Elyoya just having a bunch of different angles on how he wants to exploit this guy. Like, he knows that this guy is a free win.
Oh, and there's another thing as well. Like, in theory, if you look at XL, one of the better players, obviously, is IWillDominate. He's played actually pretty well this split. In fact, in general, in XL, he's played pretty well out of all the players. He just obviously plays weak side. Spoiler, after someone who's watched IWillDominate's whole career, this is where that Peach guy is going to get really fucking annoying if you're him. Because if you know fucking Chasey, this guy loves to fucking go in and go for a 1v1 and go for a solo kill. And if that Peach guy doesn't path top, Elyoya and fucking Chasey are just going to gangbang fucking IWillDominate. I can tell you. I've seen so many depressing games in teams like this where he's just getting exploited. And every dumbass fan who really thinks if you see kill pressure, you have to like back off under the tower and just lose all the CS and all the lane. Like, you can't do that. And IWillDominate will not do that. Like, he understands that you have to just take the L, go for the wave sometimes. Know you might die, but you can't play permanently off the fucking wave. Like, it just means there's so many scenarios for the Nightmare Simulator if you're IWillDominate. It's just good. I think that Peach guy is just nothing, mate. I don't even see I don't know what they even saw in him. I mean, the joke is, after all those games, it is like, if you watch his games, you would think the same thing is all that you could see after someone has eaten a load of peaches. Just the pits. It's just the pits, man. Straight fire.
I like that one. All right.
Not bad.
You write these down, or you just like come up with them on the spot? Like,
Here's the thing. What I do, here's the thing. I'll tell you the secret, Dom. I'll let you behind the curtain for a second. I don't normally do this. Is I always think of the real analysis first, like someone has a problem in this way. Then I just have a really good mind for like making a quick comedic connection, like a sideways things like, oh, if that's the thing in analysis, then you could make a joke to like this thing over here. So in this case, I did the fact wordplay and imagery of it's a peach, isn't it? And what happens when the peach is gone and someone's eating it? You have the pit, isn't it? So there you go. I deconstructed that one for you. It's all good, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's levels to it. I mean, you started with just the peach ass comparison, which is more like, it's
pretty
a more,
good.
Basic one, and then you just went all the way to the pit. So I like it.
Well, to be fair, that is also something that I want all the Mad Lions players to do after this game. Just post loads of those peach emojis, because you definitely got in that ass. There you go. Not bad. That was a bit of a throwaway. So same thing. I don't have a writer's room. I'm doing it now live. I edit all this out in my videos. I just put shit in like that in, Dom. This is for you, mate. I put the really good jokes in my videos. I keep the quality high. Exactly. This is like doing a small room in like fucking Milwaukee or something. It's like the people in LA watching this. Yeah, exactly. I just throw this out there, and then basically, if the joke doesn't work, much like with Twitch chat here, I just tell all the fucking yokels that are locals like you're just fucking the hicks who don't understand comedy. Anyway, I'm off to New York. Although, joke is, I wouldn't be going to New York now, would I? Because I like to breathe oxygen. I'm actually a human. I don't know if you're aware of that. Like, I need like air. I need to have oxygen in the air and not many carcinogens. And then, like, it actually like allows my whole body to get energy, and then I'll stay alive. I know, obviously, people in New York long ago gave up the aim of trying to stay alive as long as possible because they live in New York. Shout out to the people in New York, or not. I'm like that movie, Snake Plissken. I'm trying to escape from New York. Y'all are trying to stay in that concrete jungle. It's a nightmare. What are you doing? Listen, I used to like rap music in the 90s too. It ain't in the 90s anymore, Dom. It ain't in the 90s anymore. Biggie's dead. He's gone. Fucking Nas doesn't give a shit anymore. Big L. Tell you what, speaking of a big L, enough about Rekkles, right? Anyway, so enough about...
Is that the setup? Is that why you started mentioning rappers? You just wanted to get to big L?
Stop showing him what I'm doing. Like, Tom, stop going, look, he's actually putting the coin in his pocket. There never was behind his ear. Like, yeah, we know that, Tom, but they want to be fooled. They want to think that it was all something I was fooled into.
Okay, all right.
Obviously, yeah.
Time. Obviously,
I thought the punchline and I was trying to get to it. Yeah, I was reaching through, It's all good. It's like, funny enough, like trying to reach Rekkles on a team fight. It's like, you have to be like Dal Sim, just please, he's kiting backwards, he's kiting.
Well, I mean, speaking of Big L, Rekkles' career is also now dead. So, it is what it is. Unfortunate.
Yes. Yeah. Well, just like that, we'll just remember the good times many, many, many years ago. Anyway.
All right, so the matchups, that's pretty much it for the matchups. I guess we'll see what happens on.
I'll just say this right now. Look, obviously, yes, there's a world where if you can play as A, that's going to be all fine and dandy for fucking IWDominate. This is also where I think you see the difference between having a mid laner that can do more than just fucking being laid on a mage. Dude, Niski is, in terms of like how well-rounded he is, he's levels above IWDominate, mate, and what he can do for his team and how he can do players stuff. That's another factor. I don't really see where the edge comes from Rexel. Like, who are we looking to carry in this case?
I mean, I think that you're just trying to withstand what Mad Lions does early. I think that's the angle that XL has to go for. They need to just try to play in a way where they don't get fucked too hard early game, because Mad Lions, I mean, you even saw when they played against T1 at MSI, even though like everyone knows at this point, T1 is pretty fraudulent in their own right. But I mean, Mad Lions, like that game one, you saw the leads that they can generate. And I feel like if Mad Lions plays this type of game where Elyoya is in the enemy fucking jungle and Hillsong's just playing one of his engaged supports and he's just completely taking over the game. Also, what better fucking time to now move? You got to remember, they were on 13-11 this whole time. That's like one of the worst patches for Mad Lions. That's a Milio Yumi patch. And now they're going to a fucking Rel patch. They're going straight from Milio Yumi to Rel. Hilly was playing Rel when Rel was bad. Now Rel is like one of the most OP champions in the entire fucking game. So they're going to have that. He's going to have Pyke. Now Nautilus is better. Alistar is going to be in the mix. Like, all these champions are going to be so good for Hilly's champion pool. When you combine that with the fact that, Niski can still play all of his roam champions, and you have like a bunch of ganking junglers that are still available in the pool, I just think it's really hard for XL to get through the early game. They should get like absolutely stomped in the series.
Oh, I'm with you. I don't really see how it works for them. No, the saddest thing as well is about this team. Yeah, they looked better in a very, very weak split, I will say. I don't think it was a great scenario in that sense, but fucking hell. Like, I can say, what ceiling do they have? Like, even if they somehow, by the way, like, obviously there's a world where Maybe they can beat SK. I'm not against that as a concept. Even so, neither of these teams are getting out. It's going to be Fnatic and Mad surely all day long. Fnatic, I'm so certain about. And Mad, I just think they're just a better team than all these other squads in so many areas, so many spots. By the way, on the T1 one, I'll join you on a bit of T1 flame because I will say this. Mate, actually shout out to Bengi, because I'll tell you a weird angle people don't know. I'll give you a quick analogy. You know, in CSGO, famously a player that people accused of cheating, and I've always said I think he cheated, was Flusher from Fnatic, where he did like that weird mouse lift thing, and people think he cheated even in majors, right? I always used to say, in a fucked up way, because there was never any actual like hard evidence, and we don't have like there's no like way of like checking his mouse from all those years back then, so we'll never actually know if he did it. He got away with it, basically. I always say, if you actually do get away with it in a fucked up way, I can sort of admire that. It's like in a movie where you're watching a bank robber, but he executes the heist properly, and then he does actually ride off into the sunset. The cops are too stupid to catch him. In a way, you're like, that is kind of cool. You're kind of like an anti-hero. I've got to say, shout out to Bengi, because I already thought you were a mad fraud, even for some of those world championships. But I love the way he actually just understood that the writing was on the wall, Tom. He was like, wait a minute, Faker's out. He has a hand injury. We don't have a good person to replace him with, and we're probably going to actually fuck the split up. And if we really fuck it up, maybe not even make worlds. You know what? I'm just leaving now. I'm not going to wait till the whole house is burned down. I saw you late in the match. I'm just leaving now, mate. You know what? I'll just be gone. And the joke now, if you know how dumb fans are, is when T1 collapses, they'll just blame whoever's playing in the team and whoever the current coach is. They won't even blame Bengi. He's actually done what he's done his whole career, which is when he's actually shit, just fucking rizzle-dizzle like, well, that's enough for me, folks. It's like, and then in come the commercials, like, give me a break. Oh, what? Are you just a fucking... His entire career... Dude, his entire career was like some sort of fucked up porn acrobat just swinging on Faker's nuts the whole time.
Jesus.
Never heard that analogy.
That's the visual that we need? All right. God damn. Well, if we haven't got trucked to this point, that's definitely where we get trucked.
I can't lie, Dom. Here's the sad thing. When people see that and everyone else, they can't handle the heat, they can't handle the pressure. They've never been where you and me are on the hot seat. Low key, I would actually sort of low key love it if a truck did come outside T1 thing like, because what would they say? Like, fuck Thorin and IWillDominate. I'd love that, mate. That would actually like warm the cockles of my heart. I would sort of be like, I would like take that screenshot and I would just fucking put it on my Instagram or something like, love to the fans out there or something like that. Fucking, it'd be amazing, mate. It'd actually be amazing. Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad that I've blocked so many T1 fans at this point because there was some ones I was trying to find a clip from earlier where, or not a clip. I was trying to find a tweet where it was a guy's pin tweet, and this was after Faker lost when he won in 2022 spring LCK.
Okay.
And the tweet had a picture of Faker crying. I've told my stream about this before. A picture of Faker crying after 2017, the really iconic moment where his head was down and like he was holding his head, and it was just like, it showed how much he cared about the game. And then him just smiling and like lifting the trophy in 2022. And the tweet said, back when you lost, I cried. Now seeing you happy makes my life. I love you. It said, I love you. And then it added Faker. And all the replies were like, this is beautiful. This is like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. And I was trying to find this tweet because this was a step into like a different realm for me, because anyone I know would be like, bro, you're being so fucking cringe. Delete that shit. Like if I put some shit like that about OMG, people would be like, all right, this is too far. You're getting fucking weird. You need to fucking get your shit together. You're representing the whole stack poorly. Like people would be on my ass instantly. But all the comments, it was like 30 comments. And you know how Koreans are with social media.
Oh, yes.
They'll tweet something and it'll be like 150 retweets and like 200 likes. It's like, what the fuck is that ratio? Everyone who liked it retweeted it. And all the comments were just like, this is touching. I am moved by this tweet.
Obviously, if they made a movie about Korean T1 fans, it'd be called The Parasocial Network. Like, give me a fucking break. The other thing is, like you say as well, they always do these tweets, right? Where it's like they actually write in pretty good English sometimes, but just they're so offended. It's just like, how dare you say that about Faker? You are a disrespectful person and you should understand his legacy and his good. Like, bro, I'm just saying he had a shit game. Like, what do you want? Like I don't actually have to worship him. And also that tweet, what's so sick about that is if you take that tweet, Dom, and you take all the same actual words and you just take away that it was written by this guy guy and you don't know the author. That just sounds like, here's where this would be appropriate. If that was like a really beautiful letter that like your aunt that you don't talk to wrote to you, if you were a pro player, if you got that, you'd go, I'm really touched by that. Because ending like, I love you, it's like, mate, at the end, like that I love you is just a cry for help to the world. Like,
yeah, no, the I love you, it's just
permanently on the line of you, bro. Like, Faker, I love you. By the way, Faker's not reading that, you dumb fuck. He's never getting that. You may as well literally take that, scroll it with a crayon on the back of a fucking big leaf off a tree, roll it up, put it into a bottle and throw it in the ocean. It's got just as good a chance of getting a Faker, you idiot. He's never reading that fucking tweet. He's not he's reading that and then going, oh, how touching. A random Twitter account I don't know loves me. Like, it's not even, it's not going to affect him, is it? And also, spoiler, I'll just say this, because let's be good. Me and Dom are pretty good at actually upsetting T1 fans. So I'll say the ultimate thing that'll really upset them. If there's one player, Dom, doesn't seem like he actually gets affected by like emotion, it's Faker. I've always thought he actually is like a robot. Like, actually, one of the best things about him was he's only ever cried in really bad moments in his career, like the ultimate letdown where you build. Aside from that, the thing about Faker is he does have that insane poker face. He's got that blank stare. Like, half the time in interviews, you don't even know sometimes if he's being cocky or trash talking because you don't get anything from his face. He just has that like permanent. So I don't imagine like going up to like, I love you. He's not going to like react like a fucking dog when he calls its name, like, oh. It's just going to be like, thank you very much. Kamsahamnida. I go now and play the game. And then just go off, and then Bengi just fucking scuttles after him like fucking Grimmer Worm. Saying, yeah, take it, yes. And then you'll say, I drafted, didn't you? Yeah, I was the one drafting. Let's get another Worlds, Faker. Yeah, I'll be your right-hand man again. Another Worlds, Faker. So
no, I think
luckily Bengi's gone. By the way, how gangster would it be if Faker just came back next week and he was like, is that Bengi cunt gone? Nice, right. He's like, I've been trying to get rid of him for years.
Well, I mean, based on Piglet, based on the coaching staff, Piglet might be next. Like, he was coaching the amateur team. Maybe he's due for a promotion now. Man, T1 coached by Piglet. That will be, that would be perfect for my hatred.
That would also be sick as well, because I have to say, I felt like Dardoch when Bengi got fired. I was like, bye, Piggy. Still the most insane documentary quote ever from an actual game that's not even lost. Yeah. Just like, bye, Piggy. Like, put your teammate in the game now. Like, we're gonna play now, bro. Like, I love Dardoch. He's just fucking, he was wilding.
Dardoch was different. I respect Dardoch.
He was.
Like, he was normally, you know how veterans are the ones that are more like, they're more brash with the way they talk to teammates because of the fact that they're so comfortable within that environment. He was like that on day one. Like, he joined TL and he was like letting motherfuckers have it instantly. Like, I wanted to retire and it's like, all right, sub in for a few scrims, Dardoch. And normally, you know, somebody's trying to make a good impression. They join the team. They want to appease everyone. They're like, all right, what do you guys want me to play? I can play anything. Oh, I'll come bot. I'll like play towards your lane. That's normally how a jungler is going to think. He came in there and he's like, the fuck are you guys doing? Like, what the fuck is going on, Sam? Stop it. You're running it down. You're ruining the fucking game. Like, it was,
by the way, so it used to just actually cause me physical pain. Those scenes with him and Lolo. Because if people don't know, Lolo was like his best friend on that team, but he was doing like the Reggie Wild Turtle thing, where it's like when they're outside of the game, he's like, I love you, Sam. Like, you know, we've really connected and we're like great friends. But then in the review, he's like, what the fuck was the top player doing? Is he a moron or something? Like, how you can do that? You shouldn't even be in the league. Oh, hey, Sam, you're like, anyway, what the fuck were you? Give me a break. He's right there. He's right there.
Like, Sam, are you stupid? Are you stupid? Answer me. Like, Sam's like, no, I'm not stupid, Dardoch. He's like, well, then stop playing like you're fucking stupid. Like, it was next level, man. Dardoch was different. I respect Dardoch.
And I'll never forget, because it's just so iconic, right? Has anyone ever seen the movie Wanted, where at the beginning there's that scene where he smashes a guy in the head with a keyboard and all the keys come off, and that's like the beginning of the movie or whatever? Yeah, that's it, the movie Wanted, right? I like the way when they had that Loco Doco version of that, where he smashed that keyboard in. It's like, got done dirty by everyone. Like, he actually was trying really hard in that team, guys, but they made him look like he was like Dardoch Part 2, like he was just fucking...
I don't know why I couldn't take Loco like slamming a keyboard seriously. Like, if Yamato did that shit, I'd be like, oh shit, like, this is serious. Like, this motherfucker. But like Loco doing it, it's like I just would laugh if I saw that. I'd be like, damn, bro.
Here's the thing: Loco doesn't have the gravitas to pull that off. Like, as you're saying, like, he's already himself a bit emotional. His whole approach, if you didn't notice in that team, was like softly. Well, why do you think that though, Josh? Like, maybe we can have a discussion and talk about why. Meanwhile, the other guy's like, I think you're shit, a coach. I don't respect you. You do things wrong. Like, it was never working. But the reason why it would work if Yamato did it is because one thing Yamato's always had, even since he was really young, is he always looked like a full fucking 28-year-old adult. Like he had the full fucking build, the suit, the deep voice. The difference is if Yamato, who by the way normally is pretty chill in the event, if he came in and actually like fucking like when last year, if in summer when Humanoid was in it, Yamato just came in like, damn it, I'm not going to accept this, man. You're supposed to be here for greatness. And what are you here for? Are you with me? Are you with me now? Like, that'd actually fire you up. Like even Humanoid would be like, fucking hell. Oh, I was just here to collect the bag.
That room would be quiet. That room would be completely silent.
Exactly. Meanwhile, Razork's just sat over there, just like nervously twitching, like, oh, it's Ellis Loco. Because he always looks so scared, doesn't he? Razork does actually seem like it's fucking. He seems like he has the sweetest heart of all time. It's why I feel so bad for him. He's just getting wrecked by everyone in that team for like 2 years.
And the fans, like, Rekkles runs it down the entire fucking split. Razork in one team fight, you just see it's like, fucking kick him, kill him. It's like, oh, Jesus, bro. Like, just let him play the game. Like, what was that fight? He's win trading on stage. Fucking sue him. Like, they were going off so fucking hard on this guy. So, yeah, it's funny, though, because I can tell that Razork was the player that triggered Yamato the most from talking to Yamato. Like, there's just things that he'll talk about where, you know, there would be a champion that would come into the meta, it'd be super fucking OP, everyone else would be playing it, and Razork would be like, nah, man, Wukong is bad. Then 5 nerfs would hit the champion, then he would come back, I actually think this champion is really good, and you can just tell
I love it.
that Yamato is so fucking triggered every time he brings up the story. He's like, I was saying this shit 5 weeks ago. He's like, no, but he always ends it, but I love Razork. But I love Razork.
Oh, come on. I love it, the corp. Also, I agree. It was always the Rekkles fans that every week wanted fucking Razork cut. But in the end, it was Rekkles that got the Razor K. Whatever. See what it is? Apostrophe. I put an apostrophe in there. You all don't even know about apostrophe. I've seen how you all type. You fucking text message generation. Like, I actually thought people just did that when they were speaking quickly. Like, people actually really write out, like, you are for like you're like what the fuck, what are you doing? Like this actually, you know, on the keyboard takes like 0.01 seconds, you just type the whole word, don't you? You don't have to type like an actual fucking cretin. Like we're not fucking, it's not, you're not on Tinder now. Shout out Rekkles on Tinder, obviously, all day long. Right, this is going to be the end of the episode. Obviously, if you were someone who wanted to bet on the spicy games, like there's that one earlier on, there's the Heretics versus Mad Lions, our bet of the week, you can get 10% extra on that one. But if you want to go for one of the more cheeky ones, like obviously maybe XL versus Mad Lions could be a bit spicy. Maybe there's a world where Mad Lions in it. They've had some players that have known to. Maybe you would like to take advantage of another bonus for first-time users, which is the risk-free bet, where you just make a bet up to a stake of 100 USDT. And if you lose it, you can just go to the discord.gg/esportsbet. Message the mod mill, say you did the risk-free bet. You lose it, they'll credit your account back up to the 100 USDT stake. So that way you could bet on Mad Lions and know no matter what, in a way, you win, because either you get the money back or you get the percentage that they get. Also, quite good for underdogs, that one, because again, you're going to get it back if you win this stake. So I like to do multipliers personally for that one. esportsbet.io.